Because the one thing, even though we asked the question about black men and voting, you don't get to be just the black president. And I think a lot of times there were people in our community that held a grudge against you because you weren't just a black president. We had Rex Ryan on. He talked about he wished the world was like a locker room. Right? That everybody came together with all their differences because they understood we had one goal.
One mission.
How would you advise any president, any leader to learn to be our president, our leader?
Look, it starts from what we were just talking about, was what's your values? And I'm always going to have an affinity for the black community. I've got a black wife, black children, black family. And so I'm going to be sensitive to the particular challenges of my community. But I can't forget that everybody else got their own challenges. There are a bunch of white folks out there struggling. There are a bunch of Hispanic folks struggling. And so part of how I'm thinking about it is, how can I make sure that all those folks who are struggling feel a common cause so we can all solve the problem, right? We can all be on one team combating a lack of health care, combating poverty, combating low wages, combating, rent's too high. And I was always trying to find those areas where I can find some common interest and build a majority to get stuff done. Now that doesn't mean that as president, I wasn't paying some attention to the particular challenges of some groups. Eric Holder was my attorney general. And he and I talked about the fact that most criminal law is actually at the state level, but federal level, we've got folks in jail mostly for drug stuff. And I said to him, how are we thinking about prosecuting nonviolent drug offenses? And it turned out that when we came into office, every U.S. attorney was instructed, go for the maximum sentence, no matter what. What Eric and I talked about was, why don't we give people an incentive, go for the just and proportional sentence rather than just the maximum. And as a consequence, during my presidency, crime went down and the number of people in federal prisons also went down at the same time. And so that's disproportionately affecting African Americans because we are disproportionately incarcerated. But we didn't think about that as a racial issue per se. We were just saying, let's use some common sense when it comes to how we're dealing with combating drugs. And I think that ended up a lot of times being our strategy. There are times where folks wanted me to be more the activist rather than the president. And part of what I always used to explain to folks is, what? We all have a different role to play. The prophetic leader, somebody like Malcolm X, has a role to play from the outside. But you also want folks on the inside who have a different role to play in terms of moving progress forward. And as long as, and I like to think that over the 8 years, I proved that I was moving us in the right direction. There's always going to be some folks who, want you to do more of this or more of that. And, being in politics, look, what y'all do in football is a whole different kind of thing. But in politics, you do get toughened up just like y'all do in football, where, you just get used to taking some hits. If you're going to play this game, you're going to take some hits. And we used to call folks who weren't on the field of battle on a daily basis, civilians. Somebody hurt their feelings because somebody tweeted something. I was all like, dude, I got 1,000 tweets, death threats. Somebody gonna talk about me every day, and you just get thick skin the same way you guys. If I got hit one time the way you guys got hit, I'd be crying,
That's why they always, every time you play basketball, they just let you score. I've seen every video.
You know what?
defense.
I know that's not true. Listen, I have a photograph of a split lip. I got 12 stitches right before I was about to speak.
That was Michelle.
He get
And no, you know what it was? I might have gotten a black eye after the split lip because she came in. Why are you still playing basketball? You got some fool. She was mad at me because I walked in. I was all like, she's all like, why are you covering your mouth like that? I was like, sorry, honey.
And the